All righty, we are live. Welcome to TEXAN Tailgate, episode 32. Tonight, we got a very special guest. Coming back to join us tonight is Adam from VibraFinance. And we also have got John. How's it going? Good to see you. And we've got Adam. So, how's it going, guys?
It's going well. Good to see you, Adam. Good to see you, Robert.
Yeah, good to see you guys. And before we get started, just want to give a special shout out to Doc Vince from the Ophir Crypto team. Today is his birthday, so happy birthday to Doc Vince. Thank you for all that you do, sir. Real quick, just going to go through the chat real quick. Let's go, fam. Got Logan's Run. Yo, let's go. Yep, good to have Adam back on. We got Facing Reality in the chat, Elbow Cough. Got IDB, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Got Godfather J6. Crypto Compassion, happy birthday to Doc Vince. What's up, Texkins, HexForce1? Thank you so much for being here. So I hope everybody has had a great, happy Thanksgiving, but just want to say, how you guys been doing? How's the week been going?
It's been going good, man. Families. It's nice to always see them, hang out, have a nice meal. Hope this year. Last year with the FTX debacle, I think that was the worst Thanksgiving we could have had with our family members bombarding us, telling us, "Yeah, you guys are crazy. See, it all is a scam." And this year felt a little bit better. Being able to talk about some exciting stuff happening in Pulse Chain and just all across crypto.
Right. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I've had family members that have reached out to me from time to time, and they've asked me, "Are you okay? Is something because their only exposure that they know of as far as crypto is what they see on the mainstream news media." And I'm like, I don't mess with centralized exchanges. And then it gets that whole conversation where I have to explain what real crypto and what real DeFi is. And, these are the reasons why folks have a lot of issues because they leave their, value on centralized exchanges, which means you don't own it. And then, unfortunate situations take place. But Adam, it's been a while since the last time we had you on. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really do love to watch your streams and get your takes on a lot of interesting viewpoints. And so, how's life? How's everything been going?
Good, man. It's good. It's hard when you feel like you do tons of research. Spending years just following these projects, seeing what's going on behind the scenes, trying to connect dots, and like you feel like, oh my god, like this is so crazy what's happening here, and no one else really sees it or cares. And especially during the bear market, no one cares what's going on outside. Why are my bags crashing? What the hell's going on? Mm-hmm. And finally, the last, I would say 3-4 months, certain coins like LCX Exchange, that just took off last week. A couple of these games started really pumping. And I think that's a good, healthy sign that the altcoin season, the altcoin market is back now. I think we're going to have a nice little run here to close out the year. And then we got the ETFs coming. So a lot to be excited for. And I think that we're on that cusp of the retail explosion. We're like one app away, I think, from it really catching on. Like the Pokemon Go of like a crypto game or something like that, I think could just take us to insane values this cycle. So I'm just excited to be here and just watch it unfold.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I've just been taking a look, seeing what's been going on in the community. I know that we've been seeing a lot of tweets from Richard Hart. I mean, he has just been putting out the good word of DeFi and just telling the truth of, what's wrong with this and what we need to be doing as far as, trying to make things better. And I know there's quite a lot of division over the new decentralization route that has been taken with Hex and PulseX, where it's IPFS, I believe. And, I've seen quite a few people going back and forth on Twitter. Some people think it's a good thing, and then some think it's, like a barrier to entry. And I mean, I got to be honest with you. I personally like it. I think it's cool. I think it's different, and it's what we have to do moving forward. And I don't know if other projects are going to take the same steps, but it really is interesting once you go down this path of decentralization, just, the form and shape that it takes. And I'm sure it's going to be very good for like a long-term play. Uh, what's your thoughts on that? Have you messed around with any of that?
You don't, you want to be me or John?
Oh, either one.
Yeah, I mean, I think the genie's out of the bottle, right? I mean, like I see all the drama online, and it's kind of like I kind of feel like Richard's doing it for a reason, and it's probably because he's forecasting what's coming down the pipe. You know what I mean? And it really, as difficult as it is, it's making it where our chain's unstoppable. You know what I mean? It truly is going down the DeFi path, and I'm all for it. It just means that we got to get on our game and teach people how to do DeFi better. You know what I mean? In the future, so it's going to be real interesting. I know it's here it is, the 26th of November, and we got like the 28th coming up. We might hear some word on what's going on with Richard's case and all that kind of stuff. I kind of feel like everything's probably baked into it. I think, I don't know, maybe not, but it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. I'm excited for what our community is doing. Like you said, I think we were talking in the green room, talking a little bit about Fetch Oracle and, liquid loans and kind of what that brings to the chain. I think it's going to be a good thing for us.
Yeah, bro, I think so too. And, people are making a huge deal of this, but all you have to do is click one button, literally, for PulseX. When people were confused, and you open up the app, and instead of the swapper just popping up, you have to click one button, and then it pops right up again. So, like, the drama and the just craziness over literally clicking one button was crazy to me. And I think it's a way blown out of proportion. And it was just something where people could attack Richard, attack Pulse Chain, and, whatever. But I just think Richard seems to be ahead of the game every step of the way. Even going back to, he was a Bitcoin maxi, and then ETH came out. So he, shifted his views on that. And then Hex came out when he launched that. So the ETH guys turned his back on him. So now he's always a step ahead or adapting to what's going on. And I think obviously with the lawsuit, even if he doesn't respond to it, clearly with looking at his tweets, he understands the law, and he's been making insane arguments against his case. So I think just by staking, moving it to mining, being the first one to bring the browser right to your computer. So it's literally you interacting with that smart contract. There's no confusion. And whether it's safety, he knows something, whether, I trust Richard. He's never led us wrong or astray. So I think people underestimate his vision.
Yeah, and I really feel like it's going to be a trend setter for the path of DeFi going forward. And I know a lot of times it is convenient to just, go to a website, pull up the front end, connect wallet. But, as far as it being a barrier to entry, it will be for some folks. But once you get to a place in the market cycles where we start having green candles, people are going to be like, what barrier? They're going to, it's going to be motivation. Like, I could live in a gated neighborhood, gated community, but if somebody wants to break into my house bad enough to steal what I've got, like, I mean, that's the thing is, different things at different times will motivate people. And I think that this is just, this is necessary for what's going on with the times we're in. But I see so many projects. I see so much building taking place. Pulse Chain almost to me just seems like Santa's workshop, where you've got people that are just, building, building, building. You're seeing all kinds of new projects, new dexes, new wallets. And sometimes I'm just like, man, I need to kind of, take a step back, because, it's like sometimes it seems like it's a lot to keep up with, but it's also exciting because you want to see what people are working on. And that's the thing, is Pulse Chain has some of the most dedicated, talented people building night and day to try to, make this basically like our digital virtual utopia, or as close as we can get to that. But
yeah, on that note, Adam, you're pretty much full time, aren't you? I mean, this is kind of what you do. Yeah, I mean, so you're thick in the weeds as far as like what's kind of going on, what's popping and what's moving. I mean, what's kind of getting you excited? And I want to just say, I guess maybe hit it off on what's getting you excited in Pulse Chain, and then if you want to go on out to the fringes of like what's getting you excited in other chains too, because I mean, obviously a lot of people here are in the Pulse Chain, but it's also exciting to hear what the developments are in other areas too.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's important just for like what I do with consulting to at least have an understanding what's going on across other ecosystems and other communities. Because at the end of the day, they're so similar. Like if you looked at chats from a Cardano community or a XRP, it's the same passionate people that love their project, love whatever, and it's similar. So I think we're gonna all start to get along more this cycle as interoperability, all comes and that friction between chains kind of eases. But as on Pulse Chain, the thing that I'm excited about, some of the things are, we've been in PTGC. That was fun for like starting at the end of October, and that thing ran up like 50x. So some of the, that was a DAO too, and that's what kind of spurred the golf course idea there, when because there's a DAO for that project, so a top 100 staker can put up any proposal you want. So someone put one up to purchase the golf course, and we consulted with some attorneys and stuff, and it wasn't the ideal move to make right now, but in the future, something like that. That's like my dream for Hexago, is to, if all goes well with this cycle, we get a crazy bull run, to be able to cash out and with like 15 hexagons or 5 hex, however many it is, buy a golf course community like that, where we have hundreds of acres with a golf course where we can employ a bunch of people and pay them more than, whatever, double what everyone else makes there. So like spread the love around and have a community of people that come together and actually do it in real life. And like, I just think like if we did this right now and we were all together live in like a hexagon streaming studio on someone's, compound or property, whatever, I just think that's where we need to bring this. I think it's going to get crazier and crazier. So that I'm just excited and facing reality. We've been talking about this for years, about building our own thing, our own supply chains, and having as little reliance on the system as possible. So that's what excites me the most about Pulse Chain is obviously the projects are going to do well. I think it's going to just take until some of the stuff gets cleared up with the SEC before things really start to get going. And hopefully that happens soon, in the next, obviously we have 2 days, but if he blows it off or they can't find him, I think they put an extension out for a couple months. So we'll see what happens. But regardless, things are going to get exciting. And I think the institutional money, the institutional DeFi, tokenization of assets, that's going to be what dominates this cycle. I really believe.
No, definitely. And What do you foresee, like how this year is going to end? Because right now we're at a place where I know the Fetch Oracle just went live, and I believe the last thing I heard Crypto Crazy say was that they needed to do a lot of rigorous type testing for it. Then you're going to have liquid loans. Then shortly thereafter, you would have Power City, and uh, I mean, I would expect things to get a lot more bullish and exciting because people have been waiting for a long time, and when people have a way to extract value from the assets that they love without selling or creating a taxable event for themselves, it also takes that supply off the market and reduces that negative, what could be negative sell pressure. So, uh, you you have any thoughts, Adam, on how 2023 will end and what things could possibly look like leading up to the halvening?
Yeah, I think that for Pulse Chain, the Fetch Oracle is going to be, I don't think it's going to really affect prices of that much, but it's going to help let these projects launch and lead to the real generation of DeFi that's coming. I think Richard has updates that are coming, and without stuff like the Fetch Oracles, without certain forks from ETH, the real DeFi over here can't thrive. And I think that's going to happen. I don't know if in the next month or two, but certainly to start out next year. But just kind of in a macro with all of crypto, I think that we're going to close this year out with some fireworks. I was just looking at a total altcoin chart a couple hours ago, and we are at that point where we're breaking like a multi-year downtrend since the last bull market, and it's the same level of like the entire resistance line going back a year and a half. So if we can break out of there, I think we could end the year off with some fireworks in the alt season, potentially an ETF announcement saying that it's going to be going live in January next year. And then that, I don't know, it could be a sell the news event, but I think this could be the one time where it's not, because the amount of money that's going to fly in once that happens. So I don't know if it'll be a sell the news right away, but I think a big dip will come after that and kind of leading into the halving. And then from there, it's just, we're going to see insane things happen, I think.
I think you make a good point about, sell the news event, in the sense that, like, what do you, I mean, it could be a potential, like, what are you selling, in the sense that the money's about to flow in. You might get left behind if you're thinking you're selling it, I mean, because it's not like it's just like the vaporware, like, type of, like, hey, we're launching, and then it sells off. It's like, hey, no, you're selling, and then here comes a flood of like institutional money, and you might just get left behind, or have to buy in higher. So it'll be really interesting. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's going to be exciting. It feels like there's going to be that squeeze, like you said, of the the halvening coming up in April. So it's like, it all kind of feels like the Red Sea is kind of coming into the seasonality of where it's just kind of the money wall is coming down upon us, and it's a good problem to have, I guess.
Yeah, and I think too that we're going to see some kind of legislation happen at the towards the end of the year. There's been a lot of like hush hush closed door meetings going on, and like I've been paying close attention, on my streams, looking at just the headlines, what's going on, with the SEC, with legislation, what's going on in Europe. And Europe, if any of you guys don't know, A16 is one of the biggest managers of money in the world. And they just moved their first office ever outside the US over to London, because they've been working with their regulators over there for the MiCA plans. And I just know that they're going to make these laws for DeFi as, I don't know what the word is, as friendly for the institutions to come in and crush it, making yield. Like, they want the floodgates to open for them to come access these DeFi protocols. Like Flare and XRP, the XRP ledger, the things that they're building there are pretty cool. They are these huge decentralized liquidity pools that have no impermanent loss. And as the pools grow in volume locked, the yield actually grows. So it's different now. When you see these pools, the money floods in, the yield drops to 5%. Well, these work the opposite way. So it's gonna lure in the big money, and that can't happen until there's some kind of legislation in place. So I'm paying attention to that. If there's something that gets announced or something that happens along those lines, where some laws or something get put into effect and then the ETF launches, like that sell the news event could be out the window.
No, definitely. And one of the things that I've noticed uh, about a lot of the things that have been going on is when it comes to a lot of these crypto laws and legislations, I find that a lot of the people don't know enough about it to regulate it. And if you think about it, it's like, how can you control? Because essentially, regulation is to control. How can you control something that you don't understand? And I think one of the best examples was Binance. Binance.
Yeah.
It's like, seriously. So I hear Brandon talking all the time about how governments are going to pick winners and losers, people who are willing and friendly to do business and provide services, and
Boom.
and that's just where it is, because we don't live in a truly free market capitalist society. This is crony capitalism, where big business and governments, they got in bed a long time ago. And honestly, we need to have a separation between, our money, our value, which is a proxy for our labor, and the government has no business in our family decisions. They have no business in so many areas and aspects of our lives, but because they're tightening up the leash as much as they can, it's creating the opposite effect, because you see all these people that are standing up and they want freedom, they want self-sovereignty. And not to get, well, no, this has to do with what we're talking about. We recently saw an interview that Crypto Heartbeat did with Graham Moore from the English Constitution Society, and they actually came to TEXAN about 2 weeks ago, I believe. And we're putting out this message of DeFi and freedom and self-sovereignty, and people are drawn to that. And the same issues that we're having here in the United States, people are having in other parts of the world. So it's really amazing how we're just going to continue to grow and onboard as many people as we can. But more and more people they're awake, they're aware, they see what's going on, and they're looking for alternatives. And that's basically what I think is going to be the end goal and result. And you're also seeing a lot of these stable coins pumping up. I know the latest one I remember seeing was with PayPal. I haven't messed with their services in a long time, but I honestly think that inevitably they're going to end up pumping DeFi. And it's just something that you're not going to be able to get rid of or turn off. And essentially, it's going to turn into a situation where eventually all this battle, this fight for power and control, it's going to come to a head. And DeFi, in my opinion, it's here to stay. And by the time we get to a lot of regulation and clarity, a lot of money will be wasted at the federal level fighting over things that were technically commodities. And I think that's where we're going to land. But tell me what you guys.
Yeah. You said a lot of really good things there, and I think exactly what you said. This world is all who you know. It's all,
Mhm.
and the winners are, like Rags has been saying, I've been saying it for a while, they're already chosen. Like when the research that I do, and I look into what the BIS is doing, what is going on in Japan over there. And when you have certain cryptos that are working with 75 banks across Japan that are working directly with Ripple, and they're telling you exactly what they're doing, it's like a test market for the world. Like Australia, they test a lot of stuff down there. Japan, a lot of stuff happens over there first and then moves over. So I think in the United States, it's just been the politics behind the scenes and who controls what. This is a major shift in uprooting of a lot of old money, old traditions, old institutions, and it's inevitable. And when I read Ripple's Q3 report, and they mentioned institutional DeFi 63 times in that report. That was I read that and I was just like, oh my God, like 100 light bulbs just clicked right there from, just years of research. You just see little things. You're like, oh my God, that's what they were talking about back then. And I just have a feeling that we're being played. This is all kind of a stage to let the infrastructure be built behind the scenes, let the laws come in place, and they got to just put on a puppet show in the mainstream. And once that happens and everything is in place, I look and I watch what Fidelity's doing, what Franklin Templeton is doing, and they are all about building out their platform so we can just log right in with MetaMask and purchase tokenized equities, tokenized bonds, tokenized mutual funds, whatever they're going to be selling on that platform. Right now, you can't buy half of a share of any stock. Well, that's a huge disadvantage when stocks trade 24/7 and people can buy a half a share of Amazon or a quarter of a share for however much that is. It just opens up so much more opportunity, and we're going there inevitably. I think just we need anonymity when we use DeFi. Like if you're a hedge fund and you want to go put a bunch of money into these pools on the XRP ledger or something, no one should be able to see what you're doing so they can front run that or do something to mess with your trade. Well, if we can surf DeFi and have the decentralized ID like Hedera's building, where it's like our credit cards, I swipe my card out there. The vendor can't just look down and say, oh, okay, this is everything that I've ever spent. Like that's crazy that you can go on Etherscan and see everyone's history. Like that doesn't work for institutions and hedge funds and enterprises. So once that anonymity is there, that privacy is there, I think we're just a little bit away. And I think, again, it all comes down to legislation has to be in place. But there's certain cryptos that have been building this stuff and working on it for 4 years. And I just feel like, the winners are out there. The Amazons, the Teslas, the Microsofts, the Dells of 20 years from now are going to be, the blue chips. If it's Avalanche or Solana or, Luna Classic, like whatever ones end up winning and surviving the next 10, 15 years, right now is that opportunity to buy these coins where, John, you were saying it earlier, you're going to get left behind. And there's going to be a point where these things take off in demand or in price with such high demand. And there's actually not that many of these coins out there if you think big scale for everybody in the world. And I don't think we see that being in this every day. And so a lot of these projects, the inflations are really slowing down. I just saw Cosmos voted to cut their inflation down to 10% moving forward, capping it there. So all these projects are being forced to change and be better, or else they're not going to survive. And I think the United States is kind of in that same position where if we don't make laws that are friendly, people are going to just go to Dubai. People are going to just go to all these other jurisdictions that welcome all of crypto. And we're seeing it happen now. I know when 4 years ago, it was not a thing where people were packing up and moving around different parts of the world to be in Abu Dhabi or Dubai because it wasn't really a thing. And now you're starting to see that. And I think that's really going to happen if we dropped the ball, but I really think that when the election year this year, crypto is going to be a focus of, the bickering back and forth, and it's only just going to be a good thing of getting it in front of more people's eyes.
No, absolutely well said. And I do feel like we're in a place where the law has not caught up with technology and innovation. And that's where the disconnect is, because those who, come up with the legislation, you have to have a good solid understanding of exactly what it is that you're trying to regulate. And whenever we see, governments, primarily mostly United States, whenever they raise the business tax or they get too regulatory, we see big businesses, they start laying off people, they close up shop, and they go to somewhere else. They move their entire operation to another country. They're dealing with a different government that is very welcoming, that's like, yes, we want you, please, come in here and open up shop and set up business, we'd love to have you. And so I feel like the key to life is just having a balance. And a lot of times we're either too far on one side or too far on the other side. But real quick, just going to run through chat here. We got Drix. How you doing, sir? Good to see you. Got Crypto Heartbeat. Howdy, folks. Always good to see you as well. Got Somewhere in Hexaco. What's up, Texans? Good to see all. Got, that is actually Nancy Pelosi's number. Don't call it. Even if I had the phone number, I would not call it. So, got a question in here. This is from IDB. What are your guys' thoughts on the IIJA law and its effects when it gets implemented January 1st, 2025? Do you know what he's referring to?
I think is that the Biden's Infrastructure Act there.
Could be. I'm not too sure.
I think it is. Let me look.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that. Yeah, 1.2 trillion for infrastructure, 550 going towards new investment. Yeah, half of that's going to staff the IRS with thousands of agents.
Yes.
It is what it is. I mean, it's politics,
Yeah, and I think you said the infrastructure bill gets paid with crypto taxes. Oh, how lovely.
I think we should just make a lobby and say CZ's fine can cover it.
You know what? That's, 4 point. And here's the thing, that one of the things I've noticed, and I remember Crypto Heartbeat was touching on this point, was that one of the reasons why we don't see a lot of a push for reasonable legislation and regulation is because the way that things are set up now is, when you look at a lot of these different sub agencies of the government and how they can find people, it's money making revenue for them, because when you think about it, that money does not actually go out to like the victims, the people who lost money with Celsius, BlockFi, or FTX. So it's one big racket. It's like when one group of people does it, it's lawful. When another group of people does it, it's illegal. So, but it's things will eventually get better, and we are in this for the long term, and everybody is looking to change their life and their situations through financial freedom and self-sovereignty. And unfortunately, it's it's just another one of those fights that we're going to have to keep up.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm that. Yeah, where they're trying to say that everybody's a broker. That's, I already am pretty sure that that's not going to happen. It just creates such a nightmare. It's not even possible. If you're trying to be a vendor and you take crypto for payments, you can't. They can't do that. I think that it's all part of kind of like Gary Gensler. He's going to be the scapegoat. You know, he's the one that's slowing down progress. He's the one that's forcing people to open up offshore. And I think that'll be all a narrative. The new regime coming in is going to blame Gary, blame Biden. It was all their fault. This is why. And with our new laws that ban CBDCs and all this is the way. So I'm not worried about those laws at all. You know, I just see what's going on in Europe and how pro DeFi they are, especially with A16, Binance, Coinbase went over there and met with regulators. So, and I don't think it's coincidence either that they are launching derivative platforms outside the U.S. And I think it's just all a stage, and it's going to come here and it's going to really boom. I really believe that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is the free market is going, like, people are going to do what they want. People are going to buy what they want. I've seen it for many years, especially during the Obama presidency, where there was just anti-gun legislation one after another, and it's like, if there's a market for it and there's supply and demand, people are going to go get it. If anything, you're just making people want it even more. So
exactly,
it's like, you know, I always found it funny. Now, you know, gun stores and manufacturers, they make a killing during times like that, and not to, you know, make light or sport of any kind of a tragedy, but just when you really look at it, it's really just talking heads. It's fear, it's manipulation, it's market manipulation. And I think that the people who really win are the people who just hold on for dear life, and just, you know, turn off the TV, you know, stop looking at your phone, stop engaging in social media, take a break. You know, you know your private keys. As long as you don't succumb to the FUD and nuke your account, you're going to make it. And I was going to ask you both something. Ooh, we got Logan's. Nope, Bobby Hexrod, 100%. Nothing is better for gun sales than anti-gun legislation. I think I'm starting to need glasses, because sometimes I look at the computer screen and I'm just like, or maybe I'm just getting to that time of the evening where I'm getting a little sleepy. But you guys have been through several different markets before, haven't you? Bear markets, bull markets. What actually, what do things, in your opinion, John and Adam, look like leading up to a halvening? Do things get crazy for altcoins, or we may have covered this already? Sorry if I'm asking the same question.
No, I mean, last cycle, I mean, we ran up hard right around this time, like exactly this time for Christmas, or right before. I think we ran up to like 20K, and then we just drifted down and down and down towards the halving, and then we had the pandemic and we fell off a cliff. So the halving was what I think sparked the last bull run, because it got so bad in early 2020. But I don't see that. I mean, I think I would have thought the Binance and FTX stuff would have crashed the industry way harder, but it didn't. You know, FTX was bad, but this CZ thing, we lasted 2 days and then things started pumping again. So bad news isn't affecting the market anymore. And I think leading up to this halving, I think it all comes down to legislation and the ETF when it's launched. If they do announce it and it comes live in January, I think will run hard for a little while, a month, but I think we're going to have a cool down right before the halving. I really do. I don't see how we don't have a nice dip, and Bitcoin's got to get back to 30K, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing actually with this Binance stuff, how much people have tunnel vision right now. It's almost like they're just like ETF happening, you know, get away Binance, we don't care. You know, we're moving towards April. We don't care what, a centralized entity is doing. We already dealt with you guys with FTX and all that kind of stuff. It's the narrative is becoming more of a decentralized, DeFi, aspect. So I think, I actually was pretty impressed with people's ability to kind of shake it off and just stay in their marching lanes and keep going. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is nice to see that bad news isn't doing anything to the price. That to me confirms that we're definitely in a bull market. And you started seeing it, I think, 3 or 4 months ago, the end of summer. The media started shifting their tune to crypto was good for certain things. Interest was starting to come. Institutional investors were really starting to take a look, and it's like that's such bullshit. They've been loading up this entire bear market. Everybody knows that. So it's the classic Jamie Dimon. You buy Bitcoin or mention it here, you're fired. But we're gonna go buy it in Europe through a shell company. Just don't tell anyone.
Yeah. And one of the things people also should take into consideration is that a lot of these big institutions and a lot of these, these folks in government, the whole name of the game that I've seen is FUD people out of their bags because they do not want to share the wealth. And if you think that, these institutions and these entities are not, buying up and buying into DeFi, I mean, they are. I mean, because that's what you do when you want to control the market. You buy up as much of it as you can. And I noticed that with all the centralized exchanges that keep collapsing and keep having all these issues, it doesn't affect those of us in the DeFi ecosystem because we don't mess with that stuff anyways. Like, you do a wire transfer or ACH, you get your money, get your value onto the exchange, and then you move it right off onto your wallet. And that's, you're just asking for problems when you just leave things, on a centralized exchange. It's not yours anymore. And I feel bad for the people that, uh, you know, fall into those situations. But at some point, you kind of have to stop and be like, okay, what am I doing? I'm giving something away to somebody else. It doesn't belong to me anymore. And you're seeing other people have these problems over and over and over. And I honestly feel like the centralized exchanges are propped up and set up by design and by default to have these crashes and have these tragedies because it gives precedence. I know some people may not agree with this, but you have the problem reaction solution. The very same people who create the problem are coming right in to sell you the solution. And it's like, oh, how benevolent of you, how generous of you. Thank you for, showing up at just the right time to, so we're seeing more and more people, in their hearts yearning for freedom. And like I mentioned earlier, Texan Token, we are here to help build digital nations. We are here to help empower people and give them the tools that they need to come together in community so that they can place a store of value on a proxy of their labor. And, I thought it was really amazing how people are actually starting to, seek us out. And you look at, the Philippines that just recently got tokenized not too long ago with the Ophir token. And pretty soon, when you look at the long-term roadmap, like years and years from now, there's going to be so many people that are going to be, coming together and looking to separate themselves from the systems that they were born into, the things that we consent to. People are basically like, hey, wait a minute, I'm only going to be alive for so long. I think I want something different out of life. So that's a lot of the things that I'm seeing, and it's really good to see people standing up and saying, I want to take my power back.
Yeah, you hit on it. I mean, I think we're all a group of freedom fighters when you think about it. Everyone's looking for freedom and sovereignty, and so that's what that's what I connect with the Texan guys, you know, and I think it's gonna at some point it's not gonna just be, of course, Texan or Philippines or England. It's just gonna be different groups. Yeah, different groups, setting up their own camp and kind of having their own sovereignty for what they're fighting for. And so that's the power right there, is when you give people the power to hold their own labor within their own wallet. Yeah.
Absolutely, and also leaving a legacy behind for your family, your kids, your grandkids. Something that I'm seeing a lot more people that are wanting to manage their own estates, which basically control our own destiny. So the other thing I keep seeing, as we're talking about also the building that keeps going on Pulse Chain, is I'm seeing a lot more decentralized exchanges popping up. And I know that Freedom Swap is in the works, uh, but I keep seeing a lot more pop up. And I think that's just going to be such a great thing for price. And it's going to be a wonderful thing for innovation, because during this time, when Richard has been dealing with this case with the SEC, we saw people come out, and you saw what happened with, I think it was Uniswap, and I can't remember if it was 1inch or Matcha, but you saw how some of these things we originally thought were truly decentralized are not. So that's it's like, okay, everybody's got the mindset and the attitude. We just need to go out and build it ourselves. If you want it done right, get out there yourself.
Yeah, I'm happy to see some more. What we got? Was it 9? Of course, we got 9inch. We got all kinds of different exchanges popping up. So that's a good thing. It's good to have options for sure, and it creates a better marketplace, and it allows for us to be a more cohesive ecosystem. So that's good, and I'm excited for it. Yeah. Have you been keeping an eye on? Was it 9mm? What's that one, Adam, that came out just recently? Kind of recently, but been keeping an eye on.
I've been keeping a little bit of paying attention to like 9inch, some of the stuff that's going on there. But my attention has been more on like the macro and outside of Pulse Chain right now, because I feel like until something with Richard clears up, or just in general, I think Pulse Chain is really going to pick up as soon as ETH gas picks up and more people start to come in. I think that's going to be the big boost for Pulse Chain, is when people see the gas fees and they're like, oh man, not again. They're going to look for somewhere else to go. And I've already had people ask me, what's the best place to go? Where can I get this token anywhere besides Ethereum? And if any of these PRC20s start to hit parity or come close, I think it's going to get crazy. The potential marketing that could come from like a wrap Bitcoin being worth more than a real Bitcoin on Pulse Chain, like that would be wild. Or like Chainlink being worth $15, $16, so it was worth more than the real one. I think if we can get a couple of those blue chips to a higher value, which I don't see with the low liquidity and the low, why not? I think it's just huge marketing, but I think people are going to just flow into Pulse Chain inevitably as soon as that gas just gets a little bit too expensive.
Yeah, and when the gas reaches, I want to say this, but all-time highs, but not in a good way, I think that is going to be the pivotal point where Pulse Chain proves itself as this is the place to be. This is where you want to come to. And there was something, I was listening to an interview the other day. I think Corey Costa was interviewing, I believe it was one of the founders of 9mm. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's the new. Yes, that's the new. Yeah. Yep.
The founder mentioned something about being able to bridge. Like if you were wanting to bridge over a stable coin, you would also have the option to choose to divert some of that amount into Pulse, because the problem is sometimes when people bridge something over, all they have is their wrap token or a stable coin, and it's not PLS, which is what they need to actually
Yeah.
transact. So I think over time, as we see the roads to Pulse Chain become a lot more accessible and simplified, I think, we're going to see more people, be like, hey, I think we kind of need to start putting our economic energy and value over here on this chain. I'm not exactly like, I hope that things will work out on Ethereum, but I'm just kind of doubtful. Like, my introduction to crypto was the same for a lot of people. You come into Ethereum, sometimes the gas is good, sometimes it's not, but I have paid over $100 before just to get transactions moved, and I'm like, man, I this is going to be a real short trip for me, because eventually I'm going to park the car, and just start walking. But no, that is what is, I think, is going to really shine for Pulse Chain in the bull run, because you see the stats all the time of how cheaper it is to transact. But do you have any potential gems or anything that you're keeping an eye on? Anything you think's got potential, Adam?
Are you inside Pulse Chain or outside?
Oh,
What do you?
Just in general. Think,
I'm
think,
yeah, I've been really trying to think of what are going to be the narratives this cycle. Is it going to be tokenization of assets? Is it going to be DeFi 2.0? Is it going to be AI? Is it going to be gaming? There's quite a few potentials out there. So I'm just really trying to, I think tokenization assets, I something just tells me that that's going to be what really blows up this cycle. And there's one project that LCX Exchange, it kind of popped this past week after the Binance news, because they're fully compliant, ready to go in Europe. And this project, Galileo Protocol, launched on there. And I did a video on it probably like 8 months ago. And it was at a quarter when it launched. And there was really no urgency. It was in the middle of the bear market. But they have these things called PNFTs, and they're programmable. And they sell like high-end watches, high-end art, high-end collectibles, and they have launch pads and marketplaces where if you have like a Rolex or something, you can sell it on these marketplaces, and it reduces you can't sell counterfeits. It's impossible. Everything has to be verified, and with I think it's a third party. You send it in, they verify everything, or something like that. But NFT 2.0 is where you can manipulate them, where you can add to the metadata of them. If I buy a picture of an NFT, and then I add a file of me holding something, a real picture to it, I think that's going to be really big, and it's going to help out gaming, because you'll be able to move stuff in and out. It's not going to be just some sword you have in a Zelda game and then it's just worthless there. You're going to be able to move these things in and around or sell them on marketplaces. So I just think, some of these projects like Nakamoto Gaming, that's been one I've been talking about for a month and a half, 2 months now, and it's almost, I think it's 3x now from the bottom. And then in the tokenization of assets, there's a project called Polytrade, which is, I think it's still under $20 million market cap, or 25 million, and it's done 4x in the last month. And then Relio is another one, tokenization of assets, and it's $50 million market cap, and they're just starting to really, really run. And then, the safe stuff, Avalanche, I really am bullish on for like a solid L1, just because the gaming that they're building on there. South Korea is obsessed with it, and we saw how much Asia affected the alt season earlier this year, when things kind of got crazy in February. So I like them. And then Solana, I've been telling people to buy it since it dropped under $10. I was screaming at people that this is constant FUD you're hearing. It's basically they're in testnet. They're going to upgrade everything and fix this problem. And now, sure enough, they're running 125 times faster than ETH. And people are now calling it the new ETH. The Solana's the ETH of this cycle. And it's so funny how these narratives pop up so fast. So I think identifying those narratives, what potentials could be, and then finding, a couple projects that you like inside those narratives. And that's my strategy right now, is depending on, how much you have to work with. Obviously that allows you to kind of spread out more, but definitely finding those core gaming projects, those core tokenization of assets projects, those core, NFT type metaverse coins, I think are really going to blow up again. So, and then DeFi 2.0, with this past week, I think when $400 million came into that Blast protocol, that layer ETH L2, and it's like a rocket pool, same thing. But they said, "Oh yeah, sorry guys, we can't do anything till our bridge goes live in at least February." So that $400 million is just going to be sitting there now for 3 months. So that shows me people are are ready to willing to FOMO into projects like that are. I don't know who in their right mind does that, but the fact that people are doing it tells me the degens are starting to come back. People are going to be seeking these layer twos, the ETH yield, and that's inevitably going to lead to people finding real DeFi and Richard Hart's message and all of our messages out there, first principles and all that stuff.
No, absolutely. And I really think we're just running into a lot of like shiny new object syndrome, because there's just a lot of anxiety and tension because we're just not where we want to be in the market just yet. And that's the thing, is my strategy has just been, DCA, what you can afford to let go of. And, I really, just want to get limit orders set. And I got to say, for Pulse X, I really feel like we haven't even scratched the surface yet, because there's some things that I feel that are coming down the pipelines. We're seeing single-sided staking come to Pulse Chain. And, honestly, I think it has potential benefit because, you're paying people to, lock up their tokens. So basically, you don't have to worry about that turning into negative sell pressure. And really, it's just, like you said, it's finding out like what are the narratives going to be. And honestly, I think that Pulse Chain is going to be the, the shining light on the hill, standing tall, where people are going to come to for, because that's where the best community is. That's where the best projects are. That's where all the building is taking place. And yeah, I mean, it's there's so many things to keep up with as far as what's going on. But no, Adam, I really do appreciate having you come back on. I mean, you're welcome anytime. So I always enjoy catching your streams. So did Adam, John, you guys got anything want to say before we wrap up?
No, I'm just going to say thank you. And I definitely think that you hit home on tokenizing of the assets. I think that brings so much liquidity to the chains all across, not just Pulse Chain, across the entire ecosystems of crypto. It brings in so much liquidity where, yeah, I think that's where things are going. I mean, I got this gal that's in real estate. She sent me something just today about, obviously like what you talked about, like NFTs being like real estate. And I know I don't want to go too deep down the woods because I know we're wrapping up, but we were talking about that golf course and everything like that. And what if, people could buy an NFT version that paid, yield and as far as short-term rentals, you know what I mean? It just spreads out and you see where it's going. It's just not just coins. It's talking about getting into real world hard assets. And I know that we hear Matt talking about, we're talking about Crypto Heart bringing hard assets to Pulse Chain and some of the conversations that he's having with people. And it just brings in, bottom line is what we're trying to say, is a lot of money. You know what I mean? It just brings in a ton of money. And you know that from your experience being in the commercial industry. Just imagine having commercial paper on chain. You know what I mean? Come on. It just goes so, I mean, it's just for us being where we're at, it's huge. I mean, talk about being early, you know? So,
And dude, and I think like it there's landlords are having a massive problem right now where they can't rent out empty space. Half these companies downsize, half of them left. They're sitting on empty buildings. Well, what tokenization of assets is that people don't know is it. You take like something in real life, whether it's the Mona Lisa or it's the Golden Gate Bridge or it's 666 Park Avenue in New York City, and you take that building and instead of one person owning it, you tokenize that and you break it down into basically shares. So there's a million shares of the Golden Gate Bridge or a million different pieces of the Mona Lisa that you can own. So now instead of one person, whatever, a handful of people that could afford it, you now open it up to where anybody can buy a portion of real estate. If I want to invest $500 into a condo in Singapore that is a 4-star resort that does real well with rentals, I can do that. Or if I want to buy into a duplex, in Florida that's managed by some new startup that's what they specialize in. Like there's so much coming, and like we haven't even scratched the surface yet. And I'm just so excited. And yeah, man, we're people that are here now. You deserve it because you fought through the FUD. You've been battered down, beaten. All these cryptos we own are so undervalued right now. The prices of them do not reflect the values or anything of where they're going to go. So just stay positive. And, this community is amazing. The Hex community, TEXAN, Pulse Chain, we're all one big community with kind of sub communities inside of it, which I think that is exactly what Richard wanted. And that way we can all grow together instead of just argue back and forth.
No, absolutely. And there's a question here in chat from Bobby Hexrod. Adam, are you going live later on Vibra?
I am not, Bobby. One stream with these guys was enough. It's tonight. It's Sunday, relaxing day. Dude, it's cold up here in New York. Doing some yard work today. No, we'll be back tomorrow night.
Awesome. Yeah, sometimes whenever we do the TEXAN Tailgates on Sundays at 9 p.m., I have to go stretch, go do something physical, because it's like your body naturally wants to shut down. It's like it's time to go to bed. But I always love coming here and getting to have great conversations and interact with people from the community. And, crypto is not going anywhere. So if you're still here after all the FUD, after all the nonsense, after all the drama, all the, fear porn, congratulations, you're going to make it, and we're all going to make it. We're all going to get there together, and we're going to see crypto become more normalized and pushed through society. You're going to see more crypto debit cards, credit cards. You're going to see merchants taking crypto as a form of payment. There's a gentleman out in Texas that's accepting TEXAN token. I think he had like an oil pipeline type business. I could be wrong on that. But we're going to start to see, businesses and, especially like real estate and cars. I've heard that there's some that will take payment in Bitcoin, but eventually that is going to change. And it's just going to be interesting to see, how this all unfolds. But just want to say thank you to John. Thank you to Adam for coming on tonight. So we'll go ahead and we'll wrap up, and we will be back next Sunday at 9 p.m. So thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight, and have a great night. We'll see you soon.